What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another DDLive. How's everybody doing? We got it's LongLegs weekend. Let me say my hellos. So nice to see you guys. Kevin Munn, Polly, how are you doing? Chester, Lance, Derek Weirrather, Aaron, how are you doing? David Thorson, Trina, how are you doing, Trina? Brian Sanchez, Jim Bob, Jason, seeing more of you. Deadhead, time for a nice cold one. Shelby, how are you doing? All the beautiful faces. All the familiar, beautiful faces. Yeah. Chad Prosser, what's up, man? How you doing? Channel member, thank you so much. Ryan Underwood, Gene Wildecombe. Yeah. Joe Fierro, Adrian James. Yeah, seeing a lot of you guys flowing up in here. Nice. Flowing up? What the fuck does that mean? Flowing up. That didn't sound good at all. Wow. I'm not going to give any spoilers for Longlegs or anything. I just wanted to talk about the movie itself and I guess more of the divisive nature of it, but also we're going to do I got funnies. I still have because I only did half the funnies last week. We ran out of time and I didn't want to spend the whole episode on funnies, so we stopped right there. Hey Ashley, how are you doing? And Will Robinson, nice to see you. So yeah, I got more funnies for you guys. I posted on the community page for some questions that I will be answering. I figure, you know what? I like preparing and actually getting the questions up front, so that way I can just kind of dive right into it instead of having to wait for the delay and then you guys ask your questions. Plus, it gives you time to think about a question, right? So I got some questions that you guys sent me on the community page, which is really cool. But once we get to the Q&A, if you guys want to throw questions in the chat too, if I have a chance, I'll field them for sure. Q&As are fun, right? And I don't do them as often as I should, so I figured why not combine it? Because news-wise, there's not too much going on, and I'm not gonna make up news. The biggest news, I guess, is the box office for LongLegs, which is very promising. Very promising. Man, I take kids' movies, though. What's the last movie you guys went and seen in the theater? All right. Could have been a kids' movie. Kids' movies are ruling the box office. I think kids' movies are saving the box office because you got freaking Inside Out 2, which has been a juggernaut over the last month. And then you got Despicable Me 4, which came out. I think I only saw I've only seen the first Despicable Me, I think, and I saw the first Inside Out, right? Yeah, so Trina, she went with the kids to see Despicable Me 4. Did they like it? Furiosa, Lance saw Furiosa. I like Furiosa. That's a really good movie. Are you excited for Cobra Kai Season 6? Yes, Mickey, I am. We'll see how it is. Matthew, I'm not mad. Why would I be mad? I'm happy. Loving life. Even though, man, what a crazy freaking weekend, right, guys? Jesus. We don't talk politics on this, but, I mean, what happened yesterday, I think everybody stopped what they were doing. And I feel like everybody, how did you find out about the assassination attempt on Trump? How did you find out about it? And again, this isn't political talk. This is a person's life we're talking about, okay? That's what I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about the left and the right and what they believe. Yeah, no. Although I will say, the division is quite alarming over the last decade. I think it's exhausting. It really is, and you almost don't even want to get into a discussion because everybody's locked in. You know what I mean? Everybody's locked into what they believe, and God bless them. Believe what you want to believe, but it's almost, back in the 90s and 80s, you could have a political discussion, and you could see kind of where the other party was coming from, and there would be a civil discussion where there's no civility anymore. It's gone. And I think that's part of the reason why what happened yesterday happened. It's just gotten way out of hand. And it's just sad. It's a sad time in our country right now. It really is. And I'm not the type of person that just likes to linger in, and wallow in my sadness. I like to look for the good and look for hope. And we all have things that make us happy, right? In our own lives, in our little bubble. We all have things that make us happy. It could be your family, could be movies, could be a friend, could be anything. And I think more than ever, we need to cling on to that. Cling on. I said cling on. I made a Star Trek reference. We need to cling on to that, though. Hold it tight. Hold on to the good, because there's just so much negativity out there. And maybe I sound like an old geezer. I don't know. But I'm just calling, this is what I'm observing. This is what I'm seeing. And I felt scared yesterday. I felt really sad that it got to that level. This is a person's life. And people did die. A person did die. And that means a family was affected. Somebody's, I don't remember if it was a male or a female that died, but that's somebody's father or mother, probably, maybe, that's not coming home. And man, that just breaks my heart. It breaks my heart, because that should not happen. There should never be violence with politics, but for some reason there seems to always be. So yeah. And I'll say this right now. I'm so glad that, Trump didn't die. If it would have been Biden, I would be so glad that he didn't die. That nobody deserves that. Nobody deserves that. And it's disgusting, and it's nothing new. I think Obama, there was an assassination attempt on him. It's happened a handful of times throughout history, but it feels like it's been a long time since I'd forgotten that it happened with Obama. But, this is stuff that you're going to see a couple times maybe in your lifetime, and, the odds of making it out of it. Wow. I mean, he was an inch from death, He moved his head, and I kept thinking, like, what if he moved his head the other direction? Boom, he'd be dead. So I knew I don't like talking political stuff, but I knew I had to at least, it's on the mind of everyone in the country. And I think the only hope out of all this is maybe it brings people together a little bit. I hope it does. I doubt it will, but I hope it does. Because it's just an eye opener, right? I had this thought today. If you're staring down from space and you look at our planet and we're, you can't even see us. It's like watching an ant colony, an ant mound. And when you think about what we're all doing right now, when you're that far up in, space, it seems kind of silly. It really, these are important issues, of course, but I think there's a civil way to deal with them. And as bad as it's gotten, it's kind of silly. Am I frozen, guys? Let me look on here. Hold on. No, I don't think I'm frozen. Okay. I don't think I'm frozen. But let me go back over here. Yeah. Now, what was the other thing? The other thing was Shannon Doherty. Wow. We had Shannon Doherty pass away, and then we had Richard Simmons. Remember Richard Simmons? He kind of dropped out of the public eye for a good decade or so, probably more. And I've always listened to Howard Stern, and I just remember he would always be on Howard. Gary. They still play the Gary drop all the time, and that's Richard Simmons. But as a teenager in the 80s, like I was, I would see Richard Simmons with the Sweatin' to the Oldies, and he was a big personality of the 80s, right? And you would see him drop in everywhere. He was all over the zeitgeist at the time. Shelley Duvall, thank you, Lance. Shelley Duvall. They were posting pictures of Shelley Duvall all over the place, and I could not help but think there's a striking resemblance to Mia Goth. Like Mia Goth, she should be in a Shining remake if they ever make. Actually, they should never make a remake of The Shining, but I think they've done a TV version. But yeah, Mia Goth, she looks very similar to Shelley Duvall, but you know, we all know the stories about my freaking phone went off. It throws off your train of thought, but we all know the stories about The Shining and on set and how much of a son of a bitch Kubrick was to her. And you know, at the end of the day, yeah, we got the performance, but was it worth it for her to have kind of a mental breakdown? You know, pretty crazy. I don't think any, and you know, Friedkin did this, you know, firing guns off on set, and a lot of directors would, I think, cross lines back then to get the performance, you know. And I get it, I totally get it, but I'm not for it. I think maybe he should have prepared Shelley before the shoot. Like, this is where you need to be. You are a professional. As a professional, you should be able to get yourself there. And maybe he didn't do that. I don't know. But it's sad that she's gone. You know, she's a horror legend. Everybody loves Shelley Duvall. You can't help but, you know, I love her performance. However we got there, her performance in The Shining is amazing. And I think she's just as strong as Nicholson in that movie, if I'm being honest. Her reaction, it's really great. And then, of course, Shannon Doherty. Wow, man, all the freaking... Shannon Doherty is literally 3 years older than me. You know, I remember growing up, being a young adult in the 90s, and she was on like 90210. And, you know, that's her and Luke Perry are both gone now, which is crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, man, life's short. Life is really, really short. And you got to make the most of it. And you got to go to the doctor because you never know. You know, because Shannon Doherty, she had cancer. Really sad, really sad. But I didn't even know she had cancer until I looked into it today. But yeah. So want to jump into we'll jump into the LongLegs box office. What a movie, guys. I mean, I guess to start off, I had been anticipating this movie pretty much all year. And I still didn't expect it to be as good as it was for me. And, you know, I think there are certain movies that are just entertainment. And then there are certain movies that are an experience. And that's really what LongLegs was. It was an experience. And, you know, I was thinking of like Blackcoat's Daughter. And I really need to check out Osgood Perkins' other two movies because I just like his style. He has a very unique and signature, distinct style. So I would love to check out his other two movies. Gretel and Hansel came out, I think, 2020. And I think that was during COVID because COVID started in March. But yeah, what a freaking movie though. LongLegs. But it's really divisive, right? It's really divisive. I'm not surprised at all for a couple of reasons. And we'll go into that. But first off, let's read the news report about the box office. It's not that. Ignore that one. That was from last week. Okay. Yeah, LongLegs bedevils with phenomenal 22.6 million debut. Fly Me to the Moon struggles to lift off with 10 million. Let me go to this article here real quick. Now, it went well above expectations. I think they expected this movie to make like 10 to 15 million. And I know that I looked for the budget. And the budget was below 10 million. I read somewhere that it might have been like 3 million. But whatever it was, this movie looks like a $20 million movie. It has, you know, and I guess that just goes to show what great cinematography can do, you know, and time management. Time management. People don't really mention time management as far as budgets go, but, you know, every second is money bleeding. And, you know, I think this might have been a really swift shoot. And they got all the shots they needed to make. And, the quicker you get it done, the lower your budget is. But reading this, Longlegs, an occult-tinged horror mystery about an FBI agent on the trail of a serial killer, opened to a phenomenal $22.6 million, easily outgrossing Fly Me to the Moon, a $100 million rom-com. $100 million rom-com. Why are we doing that? Featuring two of Hollywood's brightest stars. That's another whole conversation you could have about the power of the movie star these days. There's power there, but it's not what it used to be. It's definitely not what it used to be. To pull off that upset, Longlegs got a lift from some sensational reviews as well as a creepy performance by Nicolas Cage. Man, his performance, and I think he was the divisive factor of the movie. I saw some people stating that they didn't really like his performance. They thought it was a little bit too over the top, comedic even. And, I always say comedy and horror are both very subjective, right? There's no wrong answer. One person might be scared out of their mind while the other person might be laughing. Like, I've literally seen people state that The Exorcist, they found it funny, And it was more of the younger generation, but, that's just the nature of the beast. The film's opening weekend results are a record-breaking debut for Neon, the indie distributor that did an outstanding job of generating word of mouth for Longlegs thanks to a viral marketing campaign. It was one that saw the studio create a 90s-style website highlighting the gruesome crimes of the antagonist, which this reminded me of Blair Witch. I don't know if a lot of you remember, but back when they promoted, the marketing campaign for Blair Witch, still to this day, I think probably the greatest marketing campaign ever. You have a super, super low budget. In that case, I think it was $25,000. But what you can do with an effective marketing campaign, even sometimes even lying to your audience, it can work. Fargo, for example, they marketed Fargo as a true story, and it comes out it wasn't a true story at all. If the movie's good, people will forgive that, I think. But Blair Witch, another lie. This was an actual found videotape of real events. They pretty much stated that, and people believed it. They ate it up. They wanted to believe it. And I think that's the thing too. When we want to believe something, we're more likely to believe it, right? Which you can say the opposite of that too. When you don't want to believe something, you go out of your way to not believe it. But it's all like human psychology. The studios know this stuff, and it's all numbers to them. And they figure out, how can we get your butt in the seat? Okay? And we'll talk more about that once we get to the divisive section. It's a page right out of the playbooks of previous cult hits like the Blair Witch Project. Oh, there you go. Where it works so well that it essentially created a new paradigm for building buzz. And Snakes on a Plane, which a bunch of people got personalized recordings of Samuel L. Jackson ranting about air travel and reptiles. Yeah, that was a good marketing campaign too, actually. Because the movie itself was silly, but it was the over-the-top idea that, let's put snakes on a plane. Take two objects and put them together. And it worked. What makes the result even more impressive is how little Neon shelled out to achieve its success. The movie was produced for under $10 million, and the studio spent roughly the same amount to market and distribute Longlegs. And the marketing, those trailers, they were little tiny teasers. They weren't like anything substantial, but they were extremely effective. It just goes to show. I've seen trailers. The trailer itself looked like, they probably spent millions on it, but it looked generic. And then you take a trailer like this that's so creative, and not just the trailer, but just the marketing itself, the phone number, all that stuff. If you get creative, I think that goes a long way with people. So, I'm looking to see if I really need to read. No, I don't really need to read anymore. So, I think this will be a good transition into talking about divisive movies. And I've done a top 10 on divisive movies, so this will be a little different than that. Really, I fielded the audience for their opinions on why, what makes movies divisive, right? That's what I was looking for. Where am I going? Hold on. Let me take a drink. So good seeing you guys. Chris Snyder, what's up, man? Nice seeing you. Movies Are Life, The Phantom, Gory Tiger, Nicholas Vincent. There you go. All right, so I went on Killer Flicks and I posted, it's like, hey, let me pull it up here. Hold on, let me pull it up. Let me close that. Yeah. Yeah, here you go. All right. Killer Flicks, I might be going live this afternoon. I am. And one topic I'm covering is long legs and polarizing movies. So I need your help. Answer in the comments what makes a movie divisive. Now, before I read the audiences, I wrote down 4 of my own. And I don't want to like repeat myself, so I figured I'll read my own first. And then we'll go over to Killer Flicks. So let me pull up mine here. And you won't be able to see it, but I'm going to say it. So, yeah, here it is. Okay. So I got 4 reasons, and these are 4 reasons that I thought of on what makes movies divisive. And you know what, guys? In the chat, go ahead and let me know right now, too. What do you think makes a movie divisive? Destiny, how are you doing? Richard Strange. Yes. Kevin Munn, there you go. He says, I recently started watching Indonesian horror films. These 2 I watched recently. One was Pimukian, Sitin Aka, The Devil's Lair, and Karita. I gotta stop. I'm butchering the fuck out of those names. Foreign horror is great. Yeah, foreign horror is really, really great. Vinny, what's up, man? Okay, so Ryan Olachow. Yes. All right. So anyway, 4 reasons why movies are divisive. First one, and there's no order in these. Catsy Jack, what's up, man? Dylan, how are you doing? Social media. Social media, does the hype sway opinions? And I think the answer to that can be yes. All right. I think social media, when a movie comes out, especially a movie that has a lot of buzz, people, including myself, they want to get their opinion out as quick as possible. I see it on Facebook every let's say Thursday night. When LongLegs came out on Thursday night, a lot of my friends on Facebook, I'm looking forward to getting on Facebook, because when I get out of any movie, I'm like, I wonder what other people think. And sometimes I'll come out and I'll be like, everybody's gonna like this, right? There's no way this, like, and I kind of had that opinion with like Maxine. Even though I didn't give it like a 5 out of 5, I still enjoyed it. And I felt like overall the audience is going to enjoy Maxine. When I came out of LongLegs, I thought, oh boy, this, I can call it right now, this is gonna be divisive. But, you know, on my friends list, I probably saw like at least like half a dozen. And they all, you know, like nice little write-ups, reviews and everything. You go into X, you see just tons of information out there. And so viewers that have not seen said movie, they go onto their social media and they really, especially for a divisive movie, they're getting both sides of the argument. And they can still kind of form, like let's just say a guy named, and I'm just hypothetically speaking here, let's say a guy named Roy, all right? Like you're friends with a Roy on Facebook, okay? And Roy, usually his opinions align with yours, right? For like say 90% of the time, okay? And so when you go on your social media and you haven't seen LongLegs and Roy drops his little blurb, right, about LongLegs, and Roy really loved it. He was over the moon about it. And you're like, I'm probably going to like that. You see what I mean? It's like instant access to opinions. And then, you know, you could flip that and it could be like Sarah, you never align with Sarah. Sarah, 20% of the time I align with her. Sarah, she's really into like, let's say, super cliche, run-of-the-mill, Hollywood, Blumhouse. That's what she wants. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes people, they just want entertainment. They don't want to have pretentious crap, what they might call it, you know. And yeah, so you might not align with what Sarah thinks, right? I've talked way too long about this, but yeah, social media plays such a big part. And can social media sway, like after you've seen the movie? I've had this happen. You know, I've had this happen where I'll see a movie, and let's say I don't like the movie. And then I go on my social media and everybody likes the movie. Like everybody thinks it's like the bee's knees, like the greatest thing ever. I might question myself. You know, that's the power of social media. I might say to myself, am I wrong? Could I be kind of way off? Could it have been my mood when I saw the movie? Could I have been tired? You know, all these questions can come into play, right? So again, that's the power of social media. And before social media, we didn't really have this effect as much, right? It was more maybe a buddy, you know, or a friend or a family member might have saw the movie. Like I remember when Rocky 3 came out, the only person I knew that saw Rocky 3 was my sister. You know, I was at the skating rink. I chose to go skating instead of seeing Rocky 3. And all I had was my sister's opinion. And my sister's not she likes movies. She's Jane Sixpack. That's what my sister is. She's Jane Sixpack. I love her to death. But most people are Jane and Joe Sixpack. They just are, right? Because everybody's got their own hobbies and their passions and their things that they're really, really into. And I think that's just cool about human nature, right? And there's little bubbles of people that just they love movies, you know. And then you can go deeper, and the people that just love horror movies. There's some people that they just love horror movies, but they don't really watch anything else. They spend all day, every day watching horror movies. It's comfortable for them, right? So yeah. So in this day and age, man, you have access. You got Letterboxd. You go on to freaking Letterboxd. You could see freaking. I have over 3,000 followers on Letterboxd. That's 3,000 people that can look at what I think about any movie. And, you know, that's pretty powerful to have 3,000 people, you know, looking at your actual opinion on a movie. And you're like, damn, I want to make sure I get it right. I don't want to fuck this up, you know. I don't want to screw up my opinion. That's how silly it can be, you know. So, yeah, it's a fun topic, isn't it? Social media is so interesting to me. I think there's good and I think there's bad of social media, obviously. There are things that social media has given us that, you know, I saw this comedian. He was talking about social media is dangerous because you might be able to post something on Twitter about Barack Obama and he might see it. How crazy is that? Like, really think about that. Like, you could post something about Barack Obama and he might see it. And you might say, you know, and the comedian, I'm paraphrasing, but he was basically saying, Barack Obama sucks balls, right? He could say something like that. And then you could ruin Barack Obama's day. He could see on freaking social media, Jesus, I'm trying to freaking get all, you know, look for an exit strategy here for Afghanistan. But this asshole just said I suck balls. You know, you didn't have that power. Can you imagine how hard it was to get a message to the president before social media? And it might not ever happen. And, you know, and it might not happen today, but it could happen. That's the crazy thing about social media. It's insane. It's insanity. What's up, Cryptic Chance? How you doing? All right. So, I've spent way too much time on social media. The next thing, what makes movies divisive? The next thing that could make movies divisive is differing tastes. Differing tastes. Nothing wrong with it, right? We all have different tastes when it comes to movies. You might be a Rob Zombie fan. Rob Zombie, anytime Rob Zombie puts out a movie, I'm there day one. I don't even need to know what it's about. You might be a Quentin Tarantino fan. You know, pick your director. or pick your type of movie. You might be a zombie movie nut. I will watch any zombie movie, not me personally, but generally speaking, somebody like that's like really obsessed with zombies, they might watch every zombie movie known to man. One of my buddies, like from the past, Zach, was a Nicolas Cage fanatic, and he wanted to watch and own every single Nicolas Cage movie. Watch and own. Bad ones, He was just obsessed with Nicolas Cage, right? So differing tastes could be, I put artsy versus conventional, There are, we call it elevated horror these days. We got that from Scream 5, I know. You could call it art house horror. A24 is pretty much created a brand for this. Neon and A24 to me are kind of interchangeable. You could call it more like thought-provoking type horror. Hell, there are some, and there's a spectrum to even like elevated horror, right? There are some directors, they don't want you to understand what the movie's about. It could be something so personal to them, and they're just going to put it out there, and 10 people could try to decipher what it means, and you could get 10 different explanations. You call it like abstract horror. And then you could get, I think LongLegs was pretty straightforward. I think it definitely had an artistic touch to it. But yeah, I think, you could definitely file LongLegs into that art house horror type. And there are people that they just don't like art house horror. They can't stand it. I didn't think I would like it, before, because when I first started my channel, I really hadn't seen too much. I would say The Shining was probably the most art house horror movie I had ever seen. And this is the great thing about the YouTube community and the horror community is I took a chance. I took a leap of faith and I said, I'm going to try every different type of subgenre of horror that I can possibly think of. And, I tried French horror, I tried J-horror, South Korean horror. And I found that I loved it all. And I think I was just really chasing something different, something that, because the lesson I learned throughout all that was that, American horror, it is a certain flavor. You can spot it a mile away when you're watching American horror. And there's nothing, and it's great. I think, we in the U.S. have so many great options out there for, American horror. But I like trying different, foreign horror, and I love elevated horror. I've liked pretty much most of everything that A24 has put out. I guess maybe I like a puzzle. Sometimes I like when you watch a movie, guys, here's a question for you. Do you want everything zipped up for you at the end of the movie? Like there's no question whatsoever. You knew everything that happened in the movie and why it happened, right? And there's really nothing up for debate. Me personally, I like that, but I also like when I walk out of a movie and I'm like, did I like that? And it like just kind of stays with you. And I sort of had this reaction when I watched like The Wailing, that South Korean movie. That movie will bake your noodle. And I remember watching it, and it was like a feast of a movie, right? It's a feast. It's not a cheeseburger. It's a feast. And there's a lot going on in that movie with the plot and everything. And sometimes you don't know what the end result is going to be when you come out of that movie. Your brain might hurt when you come out of it. But then I found myself like 2 days later, I could not get the movie out of my head, right? And I think that's why I love like foreign horror, elevated horror. I saw some people in the chat, they got mad because I said elevated horror. Isn't that weird though? Guys, let me ask you this, all right? Since we're talking about elevated horror, I'm going to sidestep here for a second, then I'm going to jump into the third reason. Is there another word for a genre of horror that pisses you off? And really think about this. Or is there only one word, elevated? Is that really the only word in horror that pisses you off? Like, for some reason, that word struck a nerve, like it was almost offensive. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe they think they're insulting the audience with the word elevated. And I guess it's all up to the eye of the beholder. I didn't find it offensive at all, just because when somebody says elevated horror, I know exactly what they're talking about. I know exactly what they're talking about. Okay? And so, to me, that's a good thing, right? Like, if somebody's... There's a type of horror I'm trying to come up with, but I can't remember the name of it. Can you help me? Like, movies like Hereditary. What was that name they gave? When you say elevated horror, boom, I know exactly what you're talking about. And to me, I guess it's just a functional word, right? So it didn't piss me off at all. I had no problem with it. And if I'm being honest, when I compare art house to elevated, I kind of prefer the word elevated. I think elevated and art house are just as offensive, meaning they're not offensive at all. So I don't know. Am I wrong? It's weird. It's weird to me that people they get triggered by certain words. And I know triggered is like, that's not the right word to put it, because it's like not ruining your day or anything, but you know what I mean. Okay, so now back. So we said social media, we said differing tastes. All right. Third reason, what makes movies more divisive? Third reason, and this is a big one. You ready? Expectations versus marketing. Or not really versus. Expectations and marketing, And the reason I say that is because marketing can really play a heavy hand into your expectations. And it sounds like I'm picking on people, but I'm not. But I'm just saying, some people, they take those trailers to heart. And they're not wrong, okay? If a movie tells you that it's, let's say, the scariest movie in a decade, okay? If a movie tells you that it's the scariest movie in a decade, and I go into that movie and it's not scary at all, should I be upset? And I have been a little upset, but they burned me once. They'll never burn me again. I think that's what it is, okay? There was a movie that came out quite a few years ago called Veronica. I think it was a Spanish film. And it was on Netflix, I think. And when this movie came out, they were marketing this movie like the scariest movie ever made. I don't know if they said those exact words, but pretty much in the same realm as what they did with LongLegs. And so I was like, oh shit, and I think that might have been the first time that I had heard marketing of that nature. And so I should have known better, though, because then when I went into Veronica, yeah, I mean, they had some creepy stuff in there, but it definitely wasn't the freaking scariest movie ever made. Nowhere near the scariest movie ever made. But you know what? The realization that I had was it wasn't the movie's fault. It wasn't the marketing's fault. Because here's the way they're thinking. And I went over this in my spoiler review for LongLegs, and I'll touch on it here. In their mind, they're thinking at least one person on the very 7 billion person planet might find this movie the scariest movie ever made. And if even one person thinks that, then I'm not going to feel bad about using it in my marketing. There are people on this planet that are brand new to horror. Like let's say they watched Pet Sematary, right? And they're like, oh, I might be a horror fan. This was gripping. This was a really, really great movie. And it has some scary ass shit in it. I'm a horror fanatic now. I've only seen one movie so far. I've seen Pet Sematary. And then I'm going through my my interwebs and whatever. And oh, here's a trailer here for this movie called Veronica or LongLegs. And it's saying that this movie is the scariest movie in a decade. And I'm new to horror. I'm only like 14 years old. And I've only seen this one movie here, Pet Sematary. My uncle showed it to me, okay? Why does that sound dirty? My uncle showed me Pet Sematary. I have now seen LongLegs, and you know what? It's the scariest movie I've ever seen. It's the scariest movie of the decade for me. So, like a lot of you guys, I was a little butthurt when I saw Veronica, and I felt a little gypped. But after, the very next movie that they used that bullshit with, I learned my lesson. I always like to say, I try to only make mistakes once, right? I've made a lot of mistakes, but I'm saying of a certain type, like say 10 different types of things or whatever. I like to learn from my lesson, from my mistakes. Okay, my mistakes. So, yeah. Longlegs. They marketed this movie like the scariest movie of the decade. Is this movie like 0.0 scary? Objectively, I'd say no. Objectively, I would say I was on the edge of my seat. So in a sense, what they did was they almost inserted something in my brain to make me think that this movie might scare me. Haven't been scared in 30 years, but it could happen. It might happen. That's what they did. And that can make a movie even more enjoyable because you don't know. You're waiting for that guy to come around the corner in the one scene, right? And even if he does it, the feeling was there. Okay, but now here's the problem. The next time you watch the movie, maybe it's not as, it's not going to scare you. But here's the thing too. Guys, and be honest with yourself. Are you scared every time you watch The Exorcist? Really think about that and answer me right now. Just yes or no. Are you scared every time you watch The Exorcist? And then I'm going to ask you another question here in just a second, but I want to see what you guys say. Okay, so first question. Are you scared, like the last time you watched The Exorcist, were you scared? Okay, next question regarding The Exorcist. The first time you saw The Exorcist, were you a little bit scared? And it could have been because you heard the legend of The Exorcist, or just you've never seen The Exorcist. And it is a freaky fucking movie, okay? The first time you watched the movie, The Exorcist, were you a little freaked out? Did it mess you up a little bit? And I'll answer that. Yes. The first time I saw The Exorcist, it did. It did mess me up a little bit, okay? I wasn't prepared for that, all right? But I'm looking here now to that second question, and I'm seeing a lot of no. And so you're kind of proving my point, because if even The Exorcist, the first time you watch it, isn't going to scare you, and are you mad at whoever? Because I'm sure somebody online or somebody, maybe a friend, told you, dude, The Exorcist is probably the scariest movie ever made. You might have watched my video on the scariest horror movies ever made, and I put The Exorcist at number 1. I might have duped you. You might have watched that video having never seen The Exorcist, and Lee said it's the scariest movie ever made. So it's got to be scary, right? And you saw the movie and it didn't scare you. You see what I'm saying? So don't take so much stock into marketing campaigns for movies, all right? We, especially as horror fans, we've seen thousands of horror movies, okay? And I'm gonna cut to the chase right now and let you guys know you're not gonna be scared. But when a movie is effectively like chilling, right? Effectively creepy. And I don't look to be scared, honestly, when I'm watching a horror movie. I just want it to be good. At the end of the day, that's all I want. And if it does kind of get under my skin and there's like maybe a subject matter in the movie that's just so like taboo and really just freak, like I can give you an example right now. This isn't necessarily a scary movie, but there was a scene in the movie that really had me wincing. Like what? Oh my God. Oh my God. That movie was Antichrist. Okay? Antichrist. There's some very uncomfortable stuff in Antichrist. Very uncomfortable. It's Lars von Trier, He's the master at making uncomfortable cinema. And I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a scene. I wouldn't even say it if I could spoil it, but there's a scene in that movie that will definitely have you go, yeah, like the heebie-jeebies, like, holy shit, yeah. So Again, I've seen every flavor of horror imaginable. You have seen every flavor of horror imaginable. So take that scariest movie of the decade bullshit and drop it right in the trash can when you go into any movie, okay? Those expectations can really screw you up. And I think that's part of what makes movies divisive, because when I was on freaking X, a lot of people took that marketing to heart. They were duped. They felt upset, you know? And that did not happen before social media, okay? That never really happened before social media. When Predator came out, there was no, I mean, you'd see a trailer, a TV spot, but never once did I see anybody come out of a theater in the 80s and 90s and before social media and say, we were duped. Damn it. The freaking marketing campaign, I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to write a letter right now, and I want somebody fired. That never once happened before social media. It's a product of social media, and I think it's complete bullshit. And I think you guys need to move it out of your damn heads right now. Don't put stock in any marketing campaign, ever. Okay? I let that shit go when Veronica came out. I said, okay, I should have known better. I will never, ever I go into any movie now, and I pretty much leave all my expectations at the door. Okay? Halloween Ends. Okay, there you go. Cactus Jack, you still in there? I'll say it for you right now, because this is the number one movie that duped people with expectations. All right? Which I don't really understand why the expectations of this movie. I think it was a lot more than that duped people too. Like, to be fair, Halloween Ends ain't for everybody. Okay? To be fair. But the only reason I say this is because, man, I saw, like, if I had to do like the top 3 complaints I saw in my comments about Halloween Ends. Top 3 complaints. Number 1, they massacred my boy. You know, number 1. Number 2, they lied to us in the marketing. And number 3, who cares? Those 2 things were the biggest complaints I saw about Halloween Ends. They massacred my boy, and they lied to me in the marketing. And I'll give you, they massacred my boy. You know, that's fine. Like, I completely understand that. Movies are subjective. And, you know, sometimes we come out of a movie and it wasn't really what we wanted. You know, it wasn't what we wanted. Especially after Halloween Kills, right? Halloween Kills, you got freaking Myers swinging from the chandeliers, doing backflips, and drop kicking people in the throat, okay? And Halloween Kills, he's sitting in a freaking sewer. I understand your plight. I really do. I can't argue with you on that, okay? Whether I like the movie or not is irrelevant, because I understand you. And I'm not here to gatekeep you and tell you, you're wrong. How dare you not like my precious movie? No, that's part of what I love about movies, if I'm being honest. I love that people have differing opinions, because I think it opens the door for conversation and debate. And maybe you bring up something, and this has happened before, not with just Halloween Ends, but maybe you bring up something that I never really thought about. You know, maybe you bring up some kind of like little like conspiracy thing. Somebody brought up something the other day about a movie. God, I wish I could remember what it was. But they were saying like a particular scene, if you pay attention, you know, this character does this one thing or whatever. And I don't remember it, but I remember the event, you know, and I love stuff like that. And sometimes it might make you look at a movie in a different way, right? So it's all art, right? Movies, even if you hate a movie, like Prom Night Remake, okay? I'll go ahead and give you the movie that I might hate. I hate it. I hate the movie. I've seen it quite a few times to form that opinion. I hate the Prom Night Remake with a fiery purple passion. I can't stand it, okay? It's art. It is. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, it's somebody's art. Didn't click with me. And that's fine. That's fine. You know? Yeah. So, yeah, expectations, I think I pretty much covered. I think you get where I'm going with expectations, okay? Expectations are a product, I think. I mean, we've expectations have always been there. But what I'm saying is it's different now. since social media kicked off. It's, marketing, I think marketing is more important now than ever. You know, it's a big thing. And do you guys notice that there's like a 3 trailer trend for any kind of big Hollywood movie now? They give you the teaser. They give you the trailer 2 that gives you pretty much the beats of the whole movie. So, some of them, they give you way too much, okay? Like, I think, what's that movie coming out? See No Evil, Hear No Evil. I can't remember what it's called, but they pretty much give you the whole movie in the trailer too. And then the final trailer, which we should never watch, ever, ever. If you see final and trailer, those 2 words together, go as far away from it as you can, because this is the marketing saying, okay, this is our last ditch effort to get everybody in the theater. Let's go ahead and give him the final act, and let's go ahead and give him who the killer is or who dies or whatever. Let's put a little freeze frame in there of somebody that died, okay? Because we just need to get butts in the seats, and we need to put some kind of shock value. Never watch a final trailer ever, okay? Okay, so number four. Franchises that take risks. What makes movies divisive? And not just take risks, but just franchises in general. You know, and I'll use like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a good example. You could take a franchise that has, like, say, at least maybe a dozen entries, you know, or maybe 10 entries or whatever. And those 10 entries, if you look at the first movie and you look at, say, the 10th movie, and they might be completely different, okay? Completely different. And you might have a faction of fans that like, say, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake and the prequel, okay? And really just any modern take on, like, so you could, starting from the remake, there are fans that they absolutely adore that part of the franchise. And some of them don't even like the original. It's too old, right? It doesn't really jive with me. It's not what I kind of bargained for when I go into this franchise. I know exactly what I like about this franchise. I could watch the remake and the prequel and Texas Chainsaw 3D and even the newer one, 2022. They all have a certain flavor that's very different than everything pre-Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. Okay? And just because of that very nature, it makes the franchise divisive. There are, and there's going to be one movie in that franchise that is like the pinnacle of divisive. And this is where I could jump over to Halloween. Okay? And it's not just Halloween Ends. Halloween Kills was quite divisive when it came out. Halloween 6 is quite divisive. Halloween 3, Halloween 3 was the first movie in the franchise that really, like, back in 1982, it was quite divisive. A lot of people hated Halloween 3 when it came out. Now, I think most people love Halloween 3, but you get where I'm going with this. Franchises in general, when you have so many of them, they become divisive in nature. You know, some of them are just plain old bad, right? Everybody can agree. Like, I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say Seed of Chucky, most people would agree, not that great, okay? Not that great. There's a couple of you that'll probably say, I like Seed of Chucky, and that's great. That's fine. But I'm just saying, most people, Halloween Resurrection, most people are going to say Halloween Resurrection is kind of a shitty movie, all right? So, yeah. So, that's what makes movies divisive. I actually like when movies are divisive. I find myself, like, if I go on Rotten Tomatoes, like, this is what happened when Batman v Superman came out. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Superman and Batman. But when that movie had like I want to say it was like a 27%. I think when it came out the gate, I think it was like 49% or something like that. Anytime a movie is around like the 50% mark on Rotten Tomatoes, it could be critic or it could be audience rating. I'm more interested because I think, there might be something here that's divisive, some quality, some element of the movie that's really divisive that some people are not going to like, but others are going to love, right? That can happen. That can definitely happen. So I like that though. And it doesn't always land for me. Sometimes I go into movies that are like at the 50% mark and I end up not liking them. But sometimes, like Batman v Superman, I love it. I love the entire Zack Snyder trilogy. And hell, even Man of Steel was divisive. But I enjoyed it. It was for me. So, yeah. I think that's everything I need to say. Do you guys want to do funnies? Fuck, let me take a drink. Jesus. This is fun. Jack says, I like that movies are divisive too. I can't hate everybody just like what I like. That's what makes me different. I was watching horror before it was a trend. I must gatekeep. Yeah. And some people, they like to gatekeep. And I don't know if Jack likes to gatekeep as much as he likes to have debate. I think that's what it is. I think some people, they really enjoy I got a buddy of mine, Matt. I'll say his name, Matt. We've been friends for ages. Before I even started a YouTube channel. And I met him when I was in the military. Matt hates Ben Affleck with a purple passion. I said purple passion already, but Matt hates Ben Affleck. Guys, do you have... it's like Grace Randolph hates Jessica Chastain, right? He hates Ben Affleck like I almost... No, I'm not going to say that, but I'm just... He really gets upset. When it comes to Ben Affleck. If Ben Affleck is in any movie, and when he got into... He's a big comic book fan too, and when he got into like the DC universe, he lost it. He was, oh my God, this cannot be happening. My least favorite person on the planet is in one of my favorite superhero movies, you know? And if I had money, before I saw Batman v Superman, I was going to guess that Matt wasn't going to like it. It just wasn't going to happen. I would have put all my nickels on it. And you know what? He hates it. It is. That's the nature of the beast. We all have certain things, certain people, actors, you know. Like mine is Jennifer Lopez. I can't watch any movies with Jennifer Lopez. She's like nails on a chalkboard for me. I can't deal. Okay. As a person, I don't know Jennifer Lopez. All right. I have no personal vendetta against her. I don't like her movies. I can't stand her movies, and that's just me. It's not her problem. It's my problem, right? And I got to deal with that. Okay. I got to sleep at night, and that's fine. But that's just human nature. There's something in my brain that doesn't click right with Jennifer Lopez. I can't stand it. You know? And like that last movie that she came out with on Amazon Prime, I was annoyed like within 5 minutes. It's like, this is stupid. Maybe she's awesome in the movie. Maybe it's just me though. I don't know. Nicholas, that is the one exception, and it proves that I'm a good guy. Okay? Because I do really like Out of Sight. Out of Sight is a great movie. Maybe it's you put her with a great director and a really good actor like George Clooney, and then maybe it can work. Okay? But when you put her as the star of the movie, I can't do it. I just can't. I can't do it. It drives me crazy. All right? Tacos and burritos. What the hell? Jesus. All right. Let's do funnies before we get into the Q&A. You guys want to do funnies? I got some funnies. All right, hold on. The Cell is watchable. I will give you that, Joe. The Cell, I haven't seen it since it came out. But, yeah, and maybe it's just, you know, she does so many rom-coms, and it's pretty much she's the same character in every one of them. If I had to give reasons, maybe that would be it. Lone Star, you're about to find out what funnies are. Here we go. All right. Lone Star, if you're new to DDLive, usually we do funnies, and it's usually like maybe a dozen funnies that I have gathered. Sometimes you guys send them to me, which is really nice. And sometimes I can form a whole topic out of it. I've done clips out of just one funny. You know, so that's what it is too. Sometimes it'll spark up like some kind of conversation about a subject. So yeah. All right. So first funny. Here we go. And I did give you sometimes they're just stupid, right? What kind of conversation could I build out of that? Phil Rollins. I can build a conversation out of that, actually. and some of you might remember me stating this, but man, I really got into early Genesis, like early 70s Genesis, a few months ago. And do you ever stumble on like a genre of music or just a band that you've heard of, but you never really bothered with their like early stuff? And I did that. Like I'd never given the Peter Gabriel era of Genesis a chance. I jumped on pretty much when in the 80s in real time, right? When you had Land of Confusion, which is a phenomenal song, by the way. I love Land of Confusion. That's one of my favorite Genesis songs. But I always suspected, because I was never the biggest fan of Peter Gabriel. When he came out when I thought he came out, which actually he came out earlier, but Sledgehammer, right? In the 80s, he had a big hit with Sledgehammer. And that song annoyed the shit out of me for some reason. I never liked Sledgehammer. It just was kind of weird to me. He had like In Your Eyes from Say Anything, which is one of the best ballads ever written. But I never bothered to listen to anything with Peter Gabriel in Genesis. I don't even know what caused me to say, you know what, I want to give this a listen. There was something that caused me to listen to it. Maybe I stumbled upon it by accident. I don't know. I think, you know what? I think I remember. It was on YouTube. You ever go down like a YouTube rabbit hole and you're like, say you're into like music and you're looking up like, I like looking at like early performances of, especially if they're like really high quality, like a Kiss. On the Midnight, what's that channel? I think it's called the Midnight Express or something like that. There's a very early performance of Kiss from the 70s. And I think it's even before like Alive. And the quality is just incredible. Incredible. And I think that's what it was. I started going down, I think it's called the Midnight Show is the channel. And I started going down a rabbit hole on their channel, and I found Genesis with Peter Cetera. Not Peter. Oh my God, Chicago. Sorry, Genesis with Peter Gabriel, and I saw a performance for the music box, and oh my God, I became. This song was incredible. It was definitely progressive, and it's not for everybody, but it's a 10-minute song, and I swear there's like different like chapters of the song. It's crazy, and I've always been into kind of progressive rock anyway. But even for progressive rock, this was unique. And I'd never heard anything like it. And Peter Gabriel's like 20 years old. The whole band, they're like 20 years old. 1973 in this performance. And I played it on here like quite a few months ago. But I'm not going to play it now. But if you ever get the chance, it's called the Music Box or the Musical Box Genesis. Look up that live performance. It's got like millions of views. And what an incredible song and an incredible band. But that was like what started me down this rabbit hole. And I started listening to a lot of early. And I even bought like 3 of the albums, the Peter Gabriel albums. I love it. So yeah, there you go. I made a topical thing out of Phil Rollins. All right, there you go. All right, next one, Mary Jane Bad. Okay. Peter, I don't want to hear about your 2 jobs, university, internship, dead parents, dead uncle, and one living related soul who is a sick old lady. Financial struggles, loss of your house, and your scooter that got demolished in a car accident. Why didn't you show up to my play? I have to fuck Chad now. Bye. The context. They're not making Mary Jane look good right now, okay? She's looking pretty damn bad. And I would say, who is your, like, as far as like the love interest in all of the Spider-Man movies, is she like your least favorite? Because it did get kind of annoying. Like in all 3 Tobey Maguire movies, he's got to rescue her. Like she's the person that he's got to rescue at the end of every movie. He should have broke up with her after the first movie. You know? She caused him a lot of trouble. Okay? And she's entitled, damn it. She's kind of spoiled, right? Okay. Next one. Rick Michael says she was his favorite. You know, there are certain scenes that I really like with her. in those. I will say that. Like, I don't hate her. I don't dislike her. But when you read all that, I guess it's kind of understandable. Okay. Sometimes these are just right. They're self-explanatory. Boom. The log truck driver in Final Destination 2. He might have been having a bad day that day, and he felt like shit. I should have used one more cargo strap. One more cargo strap could have prevented this whole mess, right? But he didn't have it. He didn't have it. So screwed him up. Scott Lauderdale, what's up, brother? How you doing? Good. Next one. This one is called Leather World. What could it be? Leather World. I mean, your mind goes to so many different places, right? Leather World. Could be a furniture store. Okay, so here we go. Leather World. When you realize that Leather World is not going to have the sofa you wanted. I think there could be a sofa in that room somewhere, but that poor girl, she showed up at the wrong sofa store. Okay, damn it. Jesus. Okay. Next one, this is my In a Violent Nature. Last week we did a part 1 in a Violent Nature. Today we're going to do the part 2. Looks like they already announced a sequel. Okay. I can't read that, damn it. I actually have to use glasses. What does it say? Rancho Camacho is a long walk from White Pines, but Johnny is up for it. This is where you could kind of like do the Hills Have Eyes version of In a Violent Nature. But all the cars have to do is make sure that they're full up on gas, and then you don't have a movie. Okay? That's all you got to do. All right? It reminds me of that scene in X-Men Origins Wolverine where she made him walk until his feet bled or something like that. Yeah, could be. All right. Next one. You know what? And holy shit, I forgot to read the one. After we get done with this, I'm going to quickly go through the Killer Flicks submissions. I'm so sorry. Damn it. And we'll see if any of them are different than the ones I gave you for like divisiveness in horror. Okay? But yeah, this was called I Gave You Taylor Swift. Okay? I gave you metal and you listen to Taylor Swift. Damn it. Some people don't like metal though, but I thought that was funny still. Jesus, remember in like Jesus, he got mad and he started, because all the vendors, and he started like flipping the tables and shit. I wonder if he would do that with Taylor Swift. I gave you metal, damn it. But they do have like metal versions of Taylor Swift songs. So yeah. This one's HK on Your Grave. Here we go. Oh yeah. The Hawk Tua on Your Grave. You get me? Yeah, I warned y'all. Okay, that's kind of like, that's not good. That's not even funny. Okay? Hawk Tua. When is that going to die down? Is it ever going to die down? I don't know. You will thank me. That is my only Hawk Tua meme. All right? I could have spent the whole freaking stream with Hawk Tua memes. There's too many of them, but that pretty much gave her a career. Did you guys know? I noticed on there on one of the shorts that she doesn't have any social media. I think she said she's got like a Snapchat. That's it though. She doesn't have any other social media. I was like, damn, that's pretty commendable. There you go. Next one. This one's called Grease Teens. Grease Teens. What could it be? Okay. This guy in Greece is supposed to be a teenager. Guys, off the top of your head. Now, there's been a lot of cases of this, too, where you have somebody in their 30s playing a teenager. It happens all the time. 90210 was an example. The one girl, I can't remember her name, but yeah, she was in her 30s and she was playing a teenager. Yeah, he was 42. Thank you, Drumdums. Yeah. Father of 3 on his second divorce. I mean, you could see the shadow. Like, I guarantee he had to shave by noon. And a little bit of hair dye, right? I'm trying. What are some other movies though that had teenage? Michael J. Fox was the one. I think the rumor was that he was like 30 or something like that when he did like Back to the Future Part 2, which I think he was. So, but some actors, they can pass for a teenager. They just have a young look to them. So, yeah. Okay, here's one. This is a story called Entitled Wedding. Entitled Wedding. And I can't, hold on. Let me blow that up because I can't read that. Yeah, here we go. Hold on. I'm sorry, I'm old. Very old. Okay. At the risk of sounding entitled, I want to vent today. This is the bride to be. It'll explain itself as I read it, okay? When we invited our friends and family to our destination wedding in Thailand, she lives in the States, I'm assuming. Only 9 people RSVP'd out of 150. Okay, I get it. Paying $3,000 to share my special day is too much for some of you. I pay for yours. Would she though? Really, would she? But whatever. But then, when we changed the wedding to be in Hawaii, so she went out of her way and changed it from Thailand to Hawaii. So it's within everyone's reach. Only 7 of you RSVP'd. It costs less, but it costs less, but less of you want to come? Is that what you think of whatever guy and me? You can't spare $2,000 to come share our happiness. Damn, people are rude, aren't they? Selfish fucks. All right. I'm tempted to just elope and not let any of you be a part of the happiest day. This is it, guys. You have 3 days to respond to our evites or we're deleting you off Facebook. And good luck keeping up with our lives then. And don't get me started on the registry. Only the cheap stuff is gone. I swear, I thought I had better friends. We'll say his name's Dave. Okay, Dave and I are asking you to reconsider. Now, guys, would you reconsider, or would you say, "There's the door"? That's one less friend I need. $2,000, Jesus. A little bit entitled, just a little bit entitled. Okay. Yeah. That poor guy. By the way, I saw a video yesterday. I went down a freaking YouTube Shorts. You can get lost in those YouTube Shorts. And this guy, all right, let me set it up for you. There was this moped that was pulling up, and I guess there was a car behind them. And the couple in the car behind them, clearly the woman was running the show. And they weren't married. I think they were just like dating or something like that. And the woman wanted to pick a fight with the guy, and she's provoking him. She's walking up. He's still sitting on his bike with his helmet on. She's pushing him, and her boyfriend is standing behind her just like, oh my God, what the fuck? And her boyfriend literally got pushed into this fight because she kept pushing the guy, and then eventually he's in the fight, and then the boyfriend gets knocked the fuck out, punched hard. So clearly the guy on the bike knew how to handle himself. And by the end of the video, because it's like a 1-minute video, the boyfriend, he can't even get up off the ground. He's so fucked up. And he's just like, I think I picked the wrong girlfriend. Okay. You ever date somebody that they're constantly looking for drama? They're constantly looking for a fight. Right? Could be a guy too. You ladies in the chat, have you ever dated a guy, some asshole, and that's all he wants to do is start fights, and then you somehow have to get in the middle of it? Oh my God. I felt so bad for the guy. You'll feel, if you see the video, you'll feel bad for the guy. I think it was on Reddit. I saw it on Reddit. Okay. Next one, Princess Diana. I swear I miss her so much. I still remember it like it was yesterday, back in the 90s, staying up at 2, I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning, and all over the freaking news, Princess Diana of Wales and the paparazzi. And, it was kind of an eye opener on the paparazzi and how, how dangerous and how much they are just complete assholes, and they're pretty much like a virus, right? The paparazzi. So yeah, that's the message at the end of the day. And they definitely had some good hits too. You know, Princess Diana, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go. Really dug that one. It was really good. Okay, next one. And I gave you a hint of this one last week because I stumbled upon it by accident. But I don't, guys. Is that photoshopped? I can't make heads or tails of it. It could be photoshopped. Damn it. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me go. Let me make it right. Let me make it right with Killer Flicks. All right. I don't want to piss off the community here. Okay. So yeah. All right. So let me get situated back over here. Killer Flicks. I apologize. All right. Here we go. Let's read through these real quick on why the Killer Flicks members think that the divisiveness, like why movies become divisive. Okay. Thomas Romano, he says, I think slow burns tend to be very divisive. Yeah, and I don't think I really covered slow burns, but yeah, I mean, hell, I'd say even like like what's a slow burn, guys? Like say maybe The Shining. I've heard people that don't like The Shining because they think it's too slow moving. But here's when a slow burn movie works, and it doesn't work for everybody, but if they lock you in, it could be characters, it could be the mood, it could be the score, you know? Just a feeling of dread throughout, like LongLegs. LongLegs, it locked me in immediately, and it did not let me go. And I wasn't looking to be scared. I was just so sucked into Micah Monroe, her character, and how unique she was. And I was just curious about, and I'm not going to spoil anything, don't worry, but I was just, curious about her past, why she was the way she was. And I won't say anything about Nicolas Cage, all right? Because a lot of you might not have seen LongLegs, okay? But yeah, so I will say it's a little bit of a slow burn, but there's a lot of slow burns that I'm like obsessed with them. Zodiac is another example. Zodiac is a slow burn. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. So I tend to like slow burns. That's just me. Jason Miller, he says, any movie is divisive these days. I mean, you show a picture of a stick and people will argue about it. That is very true. I think I've even I was like, I'm going to test something. I'm going to post just the simplest, most positive thing and just see if I get some kind of negative. And sure enough, I do. I already know the answer before I do it. It's just the nature of the beast. Some people, they're just negative. They're going to find something negative about everything. Okay. You could literally say, you could make it foolproof. You could say, tell me one good thing about this movie, that most people hate. Tell me one good thing. And you will get people that they can't do it. They will only say something bad, right? And if they didn't like anything about the movie, they could at least say, that one scene had nice cinematography. I think you could find something good about a movie you hate. Like, you know what? I'll prove it right now. Okay, I'll prove it right now. Prom Night Remake. I've already talked about this. You guys know how I feel about the Prom Night Remake. I hate it. All right. What can I say about that's good? I do think the movie The Killer had heavy potential. Okay, there you go. There's something good about the Prom Night Remake for me. I think The Killer definitely had heavy potential, and I think an R rating it wouldn't have fixed the movie, but I think it could have helped a little bit. But even if you give that movie an R rating and you kept everything, except for maybe more blood, it's still got a lot of problems in my mind. So, but yeah, I could give you something good about the Prom Night Remake. All right. Joel Perez, he says, a big factor is the director's ambition. Some directors clearly have a vision of a movie they want to make, and they don't care whether or not the general audience is going to be on board with it. And he's talking about Yorgos Lanthimos. And he's not, but that's that director. I can tell right now, Yorgos, very talented director. I like most of his movies. I loved Kinds of Kindness, but he doesn't give two fucks whether his audience loves the movie or not. He has a vision and he wants to put it out there, and he knows that he has an audience that will love what he's doing. He's not trying to crowd please, right? So yeah. And he also says another factor is too much influence from reviews, regardless of whether a movie is acclaimed or panned. Too many people let basic reviews dictate how they should feel towards a movie. They let reviewers sway their opinions so much that they don't give the movie a fair chance. That is true. That is very true. And, I try to say this from time to time, too. Even if my opinion aligns with yours, if it's a movie that you're still kind of interested in that I didn't like, go see it anyway. Go see it anyway, because there's a chance you might like it. If you're really genuinely interested in the movie and I didn't like it, give it a chance. You might like it, okay? Don't take my word for it or any other reviewer's word for it. Reviews are just kind of a guideline. If 99% of reviews, audience too, are liking a movie, then there's a good chance I'm probably going to like that movie, okay? If 10% of the audience and the critics like a movie, there's a good chance I'm not going to like the movie, okay? I think it's a useful tool, but don't let it be your, above all deciding factor on any movie that you want to see. Aaron Click, he says, typically a movie that is hard leaning into one specific style or another is divisive. Yeah, and I think an example of that, another Yorgos movie, might be Poor Things. I think that movie leans heavily into a specific style, that being kind of excess, It's got graphic, nudity, sexuality stuff. That can be divisive. Sexuality in general can be divisive. For some people, they don't want to see too much of that stuff. Is it really needed in a movie, And some people, they can't get enough of that stuff, right? The more, the better. So, yeah. Gary Wayne, he says, the hype, the overwhelming acclaim. Then people go in with high expectations and leave feeling underwhelmed and can't figure out why it got so much praise. Yeah, and I went over this pretty extensively, so I don't think I need to go down that road again. Expectations, yes, for sure. Polly, she says, I think when people try to push their own agendas into them, yeah, that is definitely true. You got to be careful as a writer how much of your, especially if it's like a political belief or a societal belief or something like that, and it has nothing to do with the actual plot of the movie. It could even be a side plot that you're plugging in there that nobody gives a shit about. You got to be careful with that stuff. People do not want to be preached at in movies. They want to be entertained. Okay. Danny Zampella says the hype train managed to convince the group of people that think jump scares is what horror is all about, that this would be the scariest movie of all time. Yeah, and Danny does mention something about jump scares. I think some people, maybe they like jump scares and they want jump scares in every movie that they go into, every horror movie. And maybe jump scares are what gets them scared, And I do think there are very effective jump scares, very creative jump scares. And I think there are very lazy ones. So I don't mind a jump scare as long as it's, used effectively, I guess. Well thought out, right? But when they have a tool pouch and all they do is say, okay, jump scare, I'm going to put a jump scare here, everything, there's no variety, that can get old. That can get old really quick. Okay. Derek Weirrather, he says, for a single standalone film, I agree with everyone that said the hype and the pushing of specific agendas for franchise films, changing the tone from previous films will have some people unsatisfied. You could say that about, it's like from Halloween Kills to Halloween Ends. Those movies do have a different tone, and that can be off-putting to some, for sure. He says, I'll just go ahead and say Halloween. There we go. Oh, my God. Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. So, there you go. I swear to God, I did not read his comment before that's hilarious. Anne Marie, the last one, she says, it's going to range from person to person, but for me, hype is one of the major contributors. There's only so much a film can be hoisted up by the hype train before it reaches a point where the acclaim cannot possibly meet the expectations for those seeking it out. And when the limit is reached, that's when you often see opinions that can go against the initial grain. Very well written, by the way. There is a very cogent reason why I avoid social media when something is getting overblown, because I know it can't be fair to a film if all these voices are scrambling my head. The less I know, the less exposure. And you know what? I think certain people, they have to do what Marie is talking about. They have to avoid everything. That's the only thing that's going to really help them to enjoy the movie the most they can. And then there are some people that they can watch a good amount of marketing and they have the ability to turn everything off once they sit in that seat. I can do that. I don't know why I can do that, but I can. When I go into a movie and my expectations are just like through the roof, for some reason, I can take it all out and I can start from scratch, start from zero as soon as the first frame of the movie starts. And I love that I can do that. You know, I love that. And sometimes the movie goes, like I'm thinking the movie's going to go this way and it goes completely opposite. It goes this way. But I've already reset myself I can take the ride, you know, because this isn't my story. This is the director's story. So I can push all that stuff aside and I can jump into the director's seat, you know, for the audience, and I can just follow his journey that I don't know what's ahead of me. You know, I can do that. Some people can't. Some people, the marketing will tell them this movie is this. It's going to have dancing monkeys for the first half, and then the second half there's going to be mermaids that are going to be doing backflips, and that's what you're going. And they're going to go in. They want to see those dancing monkeys and they want to see those mermaids, right? And if they don't get that, because that's what they're really wanting, they're going to be really upset. Okay, they don't have the ability to reset and say, I'm just going to go on this journey. And the sad thing about that is if they never saw any marketing, they didn't know that there were about the dancing monkeys and the mermaids, then they might actually enjoy the movie. That's the nice thing about being able to reset. You might be able to actually enjoy the movie if you don't know all of that noise around you. Does that make sense, guys? Yeah. So really great comments there for sure. Man, I swear I have the smartest audience ever. And I shill with the best of them. I am the biggest shill you could possibly imagine. When I wake up in the morning, I think, how can I shill today, right? How can I shill today? That's what I do, right? And then Artur, he can make little shill comments, which is really nice, really nice. I swear I love Artur. I love my comments. I love my troll comments. I actually saved one. Where was it? Damn it. Hold on, give me a second. I don't have it. I don't think I have it up here, but I can tell you what the guy said. Shit. I do love my... oh, no, I remember. The guy said, this a review channel? And I can't remember which... It wasn't LongLegs. It was another review. But he was like, this a review channel? And I said, no, we do underwater basket weaving here. You know? I really love getting into really funny, stupid comments. You know? It makes my day. It makes my day. So, yeah. All right, let's do the Q&A. Let's do the Q&A, right? Let me pull it up. Q&A, so I can close that. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. And I'm gonna have some of these questions. I might have to go. I didn't prepare for some of these questions. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Trill Tour, he says, why do you think horror is so much more divisive than other genres, mostly referring to cinema score? I did a whole section on divisive. So, yeah, I don't even, if you want to know the answer to that, watch this stream. Watch earlier in the stream. I talk all about it, okay? But I will give you I give people that even hate me, I give them a love, as long as they're not attacking my family or something like that. But yeah, I like to give them a love, right? Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch, even if you hate me. All right. Have you ever considered writing your own origin story for either Freddy Krueger, where you show the events that led to their creation? Writing my own origin story? No, not really. I pretty much let the professionals do that. I do have like ideas that like, what if, like, I remember years and years and years, but like way before YouTube, like I would have this recurring dream about like Michael Myers at a carnival, in a carnival setting, and he's like chasing Jamie Lloyd. And that's just a dream, right? But I was like, that'd be kind of a cool idea, I do want like another Jamie Lloyd movie, like an adult Jamie Lloyd. I would love that. I've done a few videos about that. So yeah. Another one from Adam Cade. He says, did you notice on your initial viewing or later watches of Blade Trinity that Wesley Snipes was mostly doubled and photoshopped with stunt doubles, or that he was filming scenes apart from other actors? I haven't watched Blade Trinity in ages. It is definitely my least favorite of that trilogy, although I can have some fun with it. I think Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool in that movie. That's pretty much what he is. He's Deadpool in that movie. So if you want another Deadpool movie without the costume, besides Origins Wolverine, I say Blade Trinity is much better than Origins Wolverine as far as the Deadpool movie goes. Okay, so yeah. Let's see. Warren Magellan, he says, I just want to know a bit about your service. When did you decide to join the Army? I was in the Air Force, but yeah. How long were you there? Love your channel. Thank you, Warden. Thank you for asking. And you know what? I don't think anybody in 9 years, I'm not like the guy that says, every chance I get, I'm in the military and I want to tell you, I have a lot of stories, but I don't really share them that much. But yeah, just to give you the general overview. Yeah, I joined the military in 1992 and I retired in 2016. I started YouTube the year before I retired. And I went to a lot. I moved every 3 years pretty much, but I was in the Air Force. I was in civil engineering. That's the field. When I came in, I was a welder. I did welding for like 2 years. And when I left Colorado, I ended up going to Panama City, Florida. And you could go to a different base, and you might be doing something different depending on the base. I mean, you'll still be in your wheelhouse. And when I went to Colorado, they happened to combine my career field, my MOS, with carpentry, and they called it structures. So from 94 and on, I was, a structural engineer. Structures is what it was called. And I did like welding and carpentry. But that was pretty much it. I only did welding and carpentry. When you're in like civil engineering in the Air Force, there is like an HVAC section. There is a plumbing section. Readiness, getting you ready for like if you have to deploy, stuff like that. I deployed 4 times while I was in. I went to Saudi Arabia. I went to Oman. I went to Afghanistan, and I went to Kuwait. I was in Kuwait during 9/11, actually. The last place I went to was Afghanistan. That was in 2012, which is where I discovered YouTube, really. Like the review space was in 2012. So, man, it's like that's just kind of touching the surface. But wow, yeah, my whole career, I have so many great stories, made so many wonderful friends, learned a lot of life lessons. That was the nice thing about the military, is it definitely teaches you discipline. And you'll use those tools for the rest of your life after you do retire from the military. I thought I was going to stay in for 4 years when I came in, and life happened. I got married. I think a year after I came in, about a year and a half after I came in. Then I had kids, and life catches up with you, and you're like, shit, what do I do now? I can get out, and then I didn't even have a college education after my 4 years. So I decided to stay in. I did eventually get my college education. The nice thing about the military is you can you don't have to do it all at once. You can space that out. So I would take a class here, take a class there. And I ended up getting my like bachelor's degree when I want to say it was something around like 2014, somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly, but yeah. Man, I could literally do a full stream about all the military stories that I have. I don't share it that much on my channel because my channel's horror. I've always been a movie fan, even before I joined the military. While I was in the military, I had movie buddies. You know, military people are just like you and me. You know, people that have never been in the military, they get up every day, they put on their pants, they go to work for usually 8 hours. If they're deployed, they're probably working 12 hours a day. I'll say one last little thing because I don't want to bore you with the military talk, but 1996, I was in Saudi Arabia, and there was a bombing at Khobar Towers, which it wasn't exactly where I was. It was like, let's say it was like an hour down the road, you know? And we went from, like, we were working, I think, let's say like 10 hours a day, and we would have like half a day on Saturday, and then we'd be off on Sunday. After, you know, it killed 19 Air Force members. It was kind of like the Timothy McVeigh bombing in 95. And this was 96. This was the year after. And I guess very similar to the McVeigh thing, somebody pulled up in like a moving truck, and the airman's dorm that had, you know, I want to say like, you know, a few hundred airmen in there, it blew up, and the front of the building came down. Kind of like, you know, not as many people died as, you know, the building in Oklahoma. But the point I'm trying to make is that right after that, we went straight to 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and for 3 months. And let me tell you, when you're working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, no days off for 3 months, it weighs down on you very, very much. You know, it was brutal, and you got the heat because when you're deployed, it's like 120 degrees over there. So, yeah, man, so many freaking great memories of the military, though. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I mean, if you guys ever want to ask me any more questions about the military, if maybe you're, you know, thinking about, or maybe one of your family members is thinking about joining the military, I'm always happy to you know, offer any kind of advice, you know. So yeah. All right. So next one, horror movies that were lukewarm on the first, that grew on you the most over time, and vice versa. I can give 2 examples of this. Dr. Sleep, and this is the bad part about being a reviewer, because you sometimes you get one chance to review that movie. You don't feel like going, oh, my mind changed, let me re-review this movie. I can't tell you how many movies I've reviewed, and I didn't, you know, naturally, I'm never going to review a movie twice unless it's like something I really, really want to talk about again. So know that sometimes you'll watch a review that I did for a movie that just came out, and, you know, I didn't really jive with it. And Dr. Sleep was that movie. Dr. Sleep. For some reason, I found it boring when I first watched it. When I went back and rewatched it at home, man, it was like a completely different experience. And again, this could be like a mood situation. Maybe my mood was off or something like that. But I ended up loving it the second time I watched it. So that's an example. And then the other side of that is when I saw Halloween 2018. And oh my God, that movie was freaking Citizen Kane when I first saw it. And that's just because I wanted O.G. Myers back so bad. It's Halloween, my favorite franchise. I wanted to love it. I think we can do that sometimes. If it's our favorite franchise, we might give it a little bit more credit than it deserves on our first watch. And that's just how we felt when we watched it at the time. That's what happened to me with Halloween 2018. And then after the dust settled and I watched it a few times, the problems of the movie started showing themselves to me a little bit more. And it went from, like, say, I might have given it like a 9 out of 10. And then it went to like a 7 out of 10 after all was said and done. It was like number 2 in my ranking. What the fuck was I thinking? And it went to number 7 in my ranking. Okay. So yeah, good question. And you guys can answer that too if you want. If you are, Gene Watercombe says, if you are a fan, are there any Texas Chainsaw movies you don't like? Not the biggest fan of 3, and I definitely don't like Next Generation. So I can watch 3, but Next Generation is unwatchable for me. I've watched it one time, and that was tough. Really tough to get through. Yeah. Not so good. Not so good. Next one, and let me make sure you guys are seeing this. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next one. Okay. If you were in a Halloween movie, who would you like to play? Alex Reeder. If I was in a Halloween movie, who would I like to play? I would like to play Myers. I'd take a stab at that. No pun intended. I think that'd be fun. Because I've put the mask on a few times over the years, and there is a feeling that you have when you have that mask on, and on Halloween night, and you're walking, down the street, everybody's trick-or-treating. And I used to get dressed every year when my kids were smaller, and I would wait outside. I'd have a whole rig set up and everything. And when families would come, man, I loved it. I loved actually walking out and meeting the kids. And sometimes they'd get really, sometimes adults would get really, really scared. I have a Halloween 6 mask. And that's the one that's the only mask out of my collection that I've actually ever wore. Okay? But yeah, there is something cool about wearing the Myers mask. It's a rush for sure. Okay. Pest control. He says, what are some things about the theater experience that you think are improvements compared to the past? Ooh, that's a good question. I definitely like assigned seating. A lot of you might remember back in the day there was no assigned seating, so you had to get there as early as possible. And like I went to see episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and I wanted a good seat, so I showed up like 3 hours early with my son, and we waited online. There were people camped out, and they had like a little mini DVD player, and they're watching like episode 1 and 2, so they were there for like freaking 4 or 5 hours. And yeah, I love assigned seating. You get that assigned seat, and then you don't have to freaking worry. It's nice. So yeah. Yeah, and that's all he's asking, improvements. Okay, so cool. All right, so next one, another one from Adam Cade. He says, has over time your opinion on Trent from Friday the 13th remake changed for the better, or you still considered him a major negative? I do have some fun with the remake, and I've always had a good time with it, but I can't come around to Trent for some, and I think sometimes I've went in trying to come around to Trent, and he does serve his purpose. It's not the actor's fault. He's doing what he's paid to do, and he's doing it well, I think. But there are just certain characters that do get under your skin. They're a little bit maybe too much, and we all have them. And yeah, I've tried, and I can't really. And you know what? It's not fair for me to put all of the blame on Trent. Because if Trent was the only character and I loved all the other characters, I think that would go a long way for me. But I really don't like a lot of the characters in the remake, if I'm being honest. A lot of them kind of annoy me. And I think it's that some of them come off as fake. Especially in that like opening scene. It felt like those actors were trying to copy what they did in like Superbad, right? If you watch Superbad right before you watch the remake, it almost feels like they took characters in Superbad and they put them in the remake, but the jokes don't land, and this isn't a comedy, right? So I'm all for fun characters in horror movies, but I think sometimes they can come off as annoying and fake. And that's just me. There's people that love the remake. They love those characters. It could be a generational thing. And I can't help but compare them to like the first first eight Friday the 13th movies. You could literally pick any movie in those first 8 movies. I love all the characters. I do. I think they're just fun. They're, I guess, my speed of what I like in a character. And yeah, they don't feel fake, I guess. They feel like they're of the time, right? So Yeah, and you know, it's a shame. I wish I did like Trent, like a lot of you guys do. But yeah, I guess Trent is my Corey. All right, there you go. Next one. How well do you think Nosferatu will do, both financially and critically? You know, this is by Robert. Is it Robert Eggers or is it Astor? Shit, I can't remember. Is it I think it's Eggers is doing Nosferatu. I saw the trailer for the first time before Longlegs, and it looks amazing. I think it'll do well. It's not, you know, I think it's not like a mass appeal type movie. I think there's an audience that's not going to go see this movie. I think horror fans are definitely going to go see Nosferatu. And maybe some others that aren't quite into horror, but maybe they're just wanting. Yeah, but yeah, I think it'll do fine. I think it'll probably do. I don't know if it'll do as good as Longlegs. It might. You know, Eggers has a name, right? So, and I think you have two different audiences too. Some that might not necessarily be the biggest horror fan, but they do like highbrow directors, right? That like the Yorgos clan. Like some people love Yorgos, who isn't necessarily a horror director. You could file Eggers and Astor in that category, even though they do horror. So, I think it's going to be a great movie, no matter what, you know. And I think it'll find its audience. Like if this movie bombs, I don't think it's really bad for the director because he already has a proven name, right? And meaning that he'll still get jobs. You know, it's not like they're gonna. Oh, we can't hire Eggers to make another movie. Some directors are so talented; they have so much quality in their films, or they just have a certain brand that they have like a cult following. Like say Lars von Trier. Lars von Trier is not for everybody, okay? But I just have a feeling that Lars von Trier will continue to be able to make movies because he has a certain brand, a certain audience. And I think the same thing with Eggers. So, yeah. Let's see. How does one get to be as great as you are? I'm taking notes. I'm not great. I'm just a guy who likes talking about movies. I'm a little organized. I'll say that. Now, I would say, you know what? I can be self-aware and I can say I'm not good at everything, but I think there's certain things that I feel comfortable with. When I sit in the chair and talk about movies, that at this point that feels easy for me. It's not that big a deal. Whereas when I first started, I'd get legitimately like nervous during the process. Whereas now, I feel pretty good at it, and I think that's just because I've done it over time. I've done it quite a few years, so you could apply that to anything. And I will say this, advice-wise, when you find something that you are good at, and you feel like there's a way to maybe monetize it, you know, and maybe you could be happy for the rest of your life, then I'd say work on that skill, work on that craft, and don't stop, you know, don't stop. And yeah. I mean, I do see, you know, negative comments are fine, especially when it's like about the movie itself. This movie was trash. How could you like that? That's fine. But then you get some people that they go so far out of the way to insult you, as, you know, like they take it personal and they insult you as a person. I've gotten it quite a few times. That they don't even know you. They know nothing about me whatsoever, but they make assumptions, you know, and they think a certain thing, and a lot of times they're like way off. I'm like, oh my God, you have no, like, I'll even say, and I won't be specific, but I'll even say, like, somebody the other day, they posted a really, really mean comment, and yeah, I'll say it. Fuck it, I'll say it. Somebody literally said I beat my wife. And I was just taken aback. I was like, where does that come from? Like, some people, they go out of their way to say something to offend you. And it's a complete lie. And they have no, you know, and you could ask my wife. she'll be like, I promise you he doesn't beat me. She's a tough woman, okay? But yeah, I mean, some people, they'll, and I have other instances which I won't even share because they take it so freaking personal. And the one common denominator about those people that make comments to you. Like, say if you have like a channel or something like that, the one common denominator is usually they're losers. They have no ambition whatsoever. They probably live in a basement. And they're not driven. That's the one common denominator. And I'm guessing on that, but if you do a little searching on them, you're not surprised by what you find. Right? I'm not going to click on their channel name and then see that, oh, this person has 100,000 subscribers and they're extremely successful and they have a loyal fan base. No, they're usually just very angry and sad people. Sad people. So, yeah. All right. So, next question. Chris, I missed your question. I think you asked about Nosferatu too, both financially and critically. Yeah, and just I think it's gonna there's no way that Nosferatu is gonna get critically panned. I could be wrong, but I'm taking a stab in the dark. No way. Let's see. Polly says, will you ever go back to doing your 10 questions quiz? Possibly one day. Man, those took a lot of work. And to give my wife credit, she put together like the PowerPoint slides and those things. And your schedules change and you get really, really busy. And we would literally have to set aside a couple days just to put that whole thing together. And so I have to give her like a lot of the credit on that. Some of the stuff she did, I didn't even know how to do. Okay. So I'm not against doing it again. And I'll be honest with you. Sometimes it depends on like, is the audience really wanting this? I get like, some of them would do well, but then you learn as you go along in this, that some things that take a lot of time for you to do, to put effort into, you might decide not to do it just because it's not going to really resonate with an audience that well. The algorithm doesn't love it. You get stuff like that all the time. So, and you move on. And I'm always like trying different things. Like if something's not working, then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to try this. Like the trilogy face off. That's kind of the newest thing I've been doing on Xtra. And it's been really fun. But the last one didn't do that well because it wasn't the big three. It was, I stepped outside of it. And so I'm kind of learning, but it doesn't take too long for me to put those together. But sometimes it takes a couple days to get these things going. So, you gotta get the audience's feedback because their feedback's going to play into the video. Whereas when you do just a review, it's pretty straightforward and it's pretty easy. And when I do new release reviews, I average between 5,000 and 10,000, So that's my bread and butter. But I like stepping outside of my bread and butter sometimes and trying different things. So I'm not against it, Polly, though. I'm definitely not against it. Some neat John Carpenter versus Wes Craven. Who is the better horror director? I mean, I don't think the better. I don't think it's what I prefer. I prefer John Carpenter's style for sure. And when you put, John Carpenter's like glory years back in the like 70s and 80s, that's like my favorite period for any director. And I like Wes Craven. I love Wes Craven. But yeah, so Carpenter for sure. Adam, he says, are you going to review Stigmata and End of Daisley? I mean, it's possible. They both came out in the year 1999. I don't know. I usually do these like catalog reviews. If I get, sometimes I'll get inspired. Sometimes I'll be watching like Netflix and like say End of Days will be on there and something of that movie will jump out at me and I'm like, damn, I feel like I want to talk about this. That's happened before. So it's possible. It's definitely possible. Street Child says, what are your top 5 hidden gem horror movies that almost nobody has seen, but you would really recommend? Oh man. And I'm going to step outside of horror for some of these, but I'll say Something Wild because nobody ever talks about Something Wild. It's one of my favorite movies. Jonathan Demme directed it. Silence of the Lambs. Blowout, Brian De Palma. I'm a massive Brian De Palma nut. That's one that I constantly recommend to people, Blowout, because a lot of people haven't seen Blowout, and it's phenomenal. Body Double, another De Palma movie that I love that, again, I don't hear people talking about as much. I'm looking over at my collection now to see if there's any that are like really, really jumping out at me. Um, two more. Damn it. Oh, All Cheerleaders Die. That's something that you might find in the Walmart dumpster fire bin, and it surprised me. Yeah, and that every now and then you watch one of those movies, and 9 times out of 10 they're crap. But All Cheerleaders Die was really fun. Like that one, and then I'll give you one more that's in that category that's really low budget but very creative. I'm gonna go with She Kills. She Kills was one that I got in Shudder quite a few years ago. And I got fixated on that film. It's the weirdest freaking movie. She even has like crow makeup in the movie. But yeah, so there's 5 for you right there. Boom. Chester, he says, are you a fan of Hellraiser movies? If so, what's your favorite Hellraiser movie? The first, for sure. I like the second. I like the third. I respect the fourth. And I can have some fun, a little bit of fun with maybe... what's the one with Henry Cavill? That one's kind of fun. Is it Hellworld? I think that, but a lot of them are pretty tough to get through. Yeah. Kevin Riley, he says, if you could butterfly affect any one horror movie, what would it be? The catch is the alternate universe has to have something bad in it. Example, Amanda Kruger is never rapid, so no Freddy. Amanda, however, turns out to be the bitch of a teacher, and some of her students become worse killers than Freddy. That's an interesting question. I'll give you the cliche Halloween answer since I'm a Halloween nut. What if Judith Myers never died? That could be kind of an interesting play. And what if Myers still, that evil was still in him, obviously, but they were able to save Judith, or maybe she was able to save herself and she didn't die. Where would the story go? Because he's still evil. Eventually, he's going to kill. And I would be curious what alternate route. I just watched Back to the Future Part 2 last week, by the way. What alternate route could you take, if Judith didn't die? Because I think Judith could be a good character, honestly. And I'd like to see what a day in the life of Judith is like. It'd be kind of cool. Ellie Vincent. What's a better series, the X series or Texas Chainsaw? Man, that's hard because Texas has so many more movies. But yeah, definitely the X series. I love all 3 of those movies. It's a great trilogy. Even though Maxine's my least favorite, I still had a good time with it. And I didn't answer this question last time. Is it a perfect trilogy? I'd say yes. A perfect trilogy doesn't have to have 3 5 out of 5 movies. It just means 3 movies that you are highly entertained by. Okay? So, yeah. Horror Guy says, are you a fan of Daniel Harris or Jamie Lee Curtis? I mean, if you're asking me to pick between the two, I'd say Rachel Carruthers. Ellie Cornell. There's your Henry Cavill meme. I like both characters, but, I think right now I would be hella curious to see where they would go with Jamie. I'm done with Jamie Lee Curtis. And I've never been like the biggest Jamie Lee Curtis fanatic, but I don't dislike her. She's overstayed her welcome. What is it about cult films and cult following that always interests you in general from movies that were not well received when they came out, but now have a cult fan base? I just think that some movies, they just don't find their audience. It could be timing. It could be marketing. But I think some movies, there's something there that's unique and so good, for lack of a better term, that they eventually find their audience. Now, The Crow was a minor hit when it came out, but if it wasn't, that movie would definitely find an audience. It's still to this day, The Crow is one of the most unique films ever. I think when you think, give me a gothic movie, what's the first movie you think about? You think about The Crow, right? That's the answer. I think certain things line up that don't make them successful when they come out, or they're just not for everybody. Some people, they don't care to go see The Crow. I'm not into gothic movies. I'm not going to waste my money and go see this movie. I'm going to go see something else. And some people, that's like my favorite movie, What is the most boring movie you have ever seen? Skinamarink. I like Scream and Ice Cream. Yes, I do like those two things too. Misanthrope, and I stayed throughout the whole movie, Skinamarink, all right? Misanthrope Peace Theater. What are some movies that you initially did not like upon release? Oh, I did. I answered that one earlier. So, and what is your favorite horror movie villain of all time? It would be Pee Wee Herman. There you go, Pee Wee Herman. No, it's Michael Myers. Yeah, that was fun. Damn. Good questions, guys. Good questions. So, yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up. This was a lot of fun. I tell you what, do you guys have any questions for me? I'll give you a couple minutes. If you guys have any questions, then I'm happy to answer those questions. But within reason, of course, but yeah. My voice is going, for sure. Oh, while you're typing up your questions, I will say, and I confirmed this today. I've been talking with Davey Deathray. Check out his channel if you haven't. And him and Nick from the Lost River Drive-In. Davey sent me a message about Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, and it's going to be the 15th anniversary of it. Bronson Wright Wolf, what's up, man? How are you doing? It's going to be the 15th anniversary of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. So we are going to do like a special stream, all three of us, because I think we all three love Rob Zombie. I know Nick does. I don't know if Davey loves it or not, and I'm not going to ask him. So, yeah, we're going to be doing a special stream celebrating Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. It's not going to be a commentary. It's going to be it's going to be a topical type thing. We're going to come up with a topical type thing. Okay, Polly, she says, would you ever want to direct a movie? Yes, and it scares the shit out of me. But yes, I think I would love to actually. I think as long as I had I think directing a movie, it's hard to do it by yourself. You have to have a good team behind you. But yeah, if I had the right team behind me, then yeah, I would like to direct a movie. I think that would be fun. It would be scary as hell, but I do like, if I'm passionate about something, even if it scares me, I like, taking on the challenge and even failing. I don't mind failing as long as, because I can at least say, hey, I tried that, Nicholas Vincent, how's the Crow fan film coming? Well, let me see. What can I tell you? I would say follow the Crow. It's Days of Sodom on Facebook. Cody Falk has been updating that. He and his team are directing it, and they have been doing an amazing job behind the scenes. I believe they just started shooting again recently. So it's coming along really nicely. It will be finished. I can tell you that right now. I don't know if I was supposed to tell you that, but yeah, it will definitely be finished. Yeah, it's definitely, I don't want to say anything else, but yeah. And you guys are going to love it. I'll tell you that right now. You guys are going to love it. What is your next Giallo movie review, Rick Michaels? Oh, man. Rick, I was actually thinking that one movie that you sent me, I was really curious to check out. So that might be my next one. I can't even remember the name of it, but yeah. And I'm definitely due. I haven't done a Giallo review in a while, and I'm kind of itching to do another one. So I was going to do Blood and Black Lace for the longest time, and every time I would want to sit down and watch it, then I'd get sidetracked. And when I watch a movie, I like to really just get immersed in it, especially if I'm doing a Giallo movie. And that one's from 68, so I definitely wanted to give it its credit. I don't like to half-ass reviews, especially if it's a catalog review. I like to give you everything. So yeah. Since Twisters comes out upcoming Friday, what is a good difference between 96's Twister and Twisters from this year? Well, I mean, I haven't seen the movie yet, Kevin, but I'm seeing the movie on Tuesday night, and I'll let you know. I'm sure there'll be differences, but yeah, I'm hearing good early buzz about the movie too. Bronson, he says, if you could remake any horror movie, which one would it be? Damn. Well, I always say this. Don't remake the classics. Don't remake great ones unless you got something really unique up your sleeve. But you definitely don't want to copy. But I always say remake really bad movies, and I think Splatter University would be a fun one to remake, just because. And I don't want to spoil anything, but let me just say, it has a unique quality about it in the final act. And if you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. That doesn't really happen that often. And I'd be curious, because it's a really, really low budget movie too. You know, you can see that scene costs 50 cents, you know? And I'm often curious, you know, putting a really good, talented, creative director behind it, with still a lower budget, but, you know, I think, you know, like say what LongLegs had. Give it that type of budget. Splatter University, I think, has the potential to be a cool type idea. Lewis Tree says LongLegs was a letdown. Yeah, you're not alone. There's a lot of people that think it was a letdown, for sure. Just now tried the Baja Doritos. Don't do it. Yeah. I am hungry. I'll tell you that. Bigger crime against humanity, Eddie Henderson. Mango Doritos or pineapple pizza? I haven't tried mango Doritos. But I'll say mango Doritos. Because I'm not against pineapple pizza. Like, I can think of worse things for sure. Like squash pizza. I'll take pineapple pizza over squash pizza any day. All right? So, Lee, do you like Japanese horror cinema? Yes. I mean, I'm not like a connoisseur of it. I've seen a few. But I do love like Asian horror for sure. I love that they don't hold back. You know? Okay, last one. Brent Colway. He says, what's your favorite Halloween franchise line? Mine is Dr. Loomis in part 4. You're talking about him as if he were a human being. That part of him died years ago. Man, look, yeah, it would definitely be a Loomis line. I mean, I hate to be cliche, but like if it was the first time I saw it, that speech that he does in the first movie, you know, I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes, the devil's eyes. What does he say? I spent 6 years trying to reach him and another 7 trying to lock him up because I knew that what was behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil. Yeah, that's freaking legend. And I think I got the numbers wrong, but yeah, that's legendary. Gene Wildecombe, I'll answer this one. How do you find the movies your Patreon members ask you to review? Luckily, I've been able to find every single one of them. Usually what I do is I'll go to like say Roku, the main Roku page where you see all the apps. Just type in search and type the name of the movie. And it'll show, even if it's an app you don't have downloaded, it'll show you every app that has that movie. And it's a really cool feature. And so far, I've been able to find every one. There have been a couple of instances where I just broke down and bought the movie if I could find it for a decent price. But if it comes to a situation where I can't physically find the movie, I can't watch the movie, then I would let the patron know, hey, I'm out of luck. I can't find the freaking movie anywhere. And maybe they can tell me where I can find it. But luckily, that hasn't happened yet. Luckily, every single movie, and I've had some super, super deep cuts, patron. Like, Toys Are for Children. That one, luckily, was on Amazon Prime, you know, which I didn't expect that at all. So, The Baby, that was one that Amazon Prime has a lot of deep cuts, you know. So, yeah, luckily I've been able to find every patron review. It's not been an issue. And usually when somebody asks me to review a movie, they know that I can find it, you know? They know that I can find it. But we usually work it out. We figure out a way for me to watch it, which is nice. So, yeah, that's it, guys. I'm gonna zip it up and zip it out right here. What's that from? And I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. And thank you so much for hanging out with me. And I'm glad I'm back in the swing of things with the DDLive. It's been fun. And go see LongLegs if you haven't. And see it in the theater, for sure. That's a movie you want to see in the theater. I loved it. It's phenomenal. But if you didn't love it, that's awesome. So, love you.